you're a transaction coordinator. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh man, where do I begin? Let's see. From not knowing anything about real estate to actually having a career in something that I had always wanted, especially with a family, and not even knowing that this existed, and now actually being in it. I know it sounds weird, but I basically knew nothing about real estate. And my husband, watching YouTube, came upon Pace
Hmm.
Morby. And of course, we were like, oh, we want to buy assets. Like, we want to buy a home. We want to do all those things. And going into his Sub 2 community, there was so much information that was like mind blowing. And I'm like, this is awesome. And next thing I know, there's something called transaction coordinator. And I'm like, what's that? And somehow it just easily lined up with everything that I love to do, especially when it comes to like details and just paperwork. And even though it's online, still, it's just something that I love. And I could not do it right away. So jumping into real estate, we had done some ventures before, going into Sub 2, Airbnb arbitrage, and that
Hmm.
wasn't our gig. Going into Sub 2, we had just paid for it, and we're like, all right, I'm going to have to hold because I think Top Tier TC had just launched. And I was like, we just paid for this. I'm going to have to wait. So I worked my butt off. I learned how to underwrite. Did I like it? Not quite my cup of tea, but I stuck to it.
Hmm.
7 months in, and I'm like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? I really just want to be a TC, and I just knew that I just had to keep going, make as many connections as I could, and in that process, I met a great subsea leader, and I won a contest. He was giving out a free Clifton strength test,
Hmm.
and I won. And he introduced me to my team leader. And so from there, I was able to join an internship, start learning how to TC, and I'm on the best TC team.
There you go.
Um, and so, I mean, it's been a blessing. It really has, especially during times where my husband and I weren't certain of how things would plan out. I mean, we're in January. So last year, we had a baby, we moved. We've done quite, we've had quite an adventure. So we've moved at least 6 times within the last 2 years.
Hmm.
In that process, we homeschool. We're doing multiple things, like as far as real estate goes. And then this was like transaction coordination was like my constant, like, how do I say, just my stability, I guess you could say,
Hmm.
even through all the chaos. And but I love it because it's just what really helped us and what really motivated me to just do more, especially within real estate. And I learned so much. I get to learn about all the different avenues of every transaction there is. And not just that, all parties in the game. There's, you just, it's just, as a transaction coordinator, sometimes you just have to bust out the popcorn and wait to see what happens because just anything can happen. But it's fun. I love it. And getting to know people, it really helped me grow myself.
Hmm.
Getting to know myself and how I respond to others and react to others, and especially my husband. So it's been such a growing experience with being a TC. And yeah, I look forward to just keeping this forever, even though my husband and I will eventually, we're looking into commercial properties. And
Hmm.
even when we have assets in a portfolio, like no matter what, I still feel like this is something I definitely do want to keep in my pocket because, and something I could teach my girls too in the future.
I love that.
And they see me, they're answering calls, they pretend they're working. It's really
Hmm.
cute. because eventually they're grown and they'll move out, have their own
Mhm.
families, and this is like my hobby, I guess you could say. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been great. I don't see it stopping at all.
It sounds like you have been through quite the journey already. Moving 6 times in 2 years, I just can't imagine how stressful that might have been. And one of
Yeah.
the things I really like is that you joined Sub 2, I'm in Sub 2 as well. And so we both know it's a fire hose.
Oh, yeah.
But it sounds like you were able to navigate past the shiny objects and you were like, transaction coordination, that's what I want, that's what I'm going for. And you went for it and you're doing it. I feel like my biggest question right now is with everything going on, you've got a family, you got transactions going on. How do you manage it all and really keep things on track and stay focused?
Honestly, I feel like I other personal wise, I feel like it was pretty chaotic. However, my husband is my rock. He is definitely the one who holds me up through all my craziness too. And he helps me so much. He really does. He is a trooper when there's things that I just simply cannot do
Hmm.
because either I just not able to. One of the big things is that as a wife and mother, I guess you could say I wasn't really educated and molded as I grew up into knowing how to do specific things.
Hmm.
And so it just comes more natural for him to take over certain aspects of that. And so for me, it's how do I do that? And he jumps right in and he does it and he helps and he's understanding. And so that's been one of the things that I'm really grateful for because in all the craziness, I used to think, oh man, how I just want to be in one place and just start from there and see where we go, but within that one place.
Hmm.
And as I told my story, in fact, I actually made a connection the other day and I was just telling my story and I'm like, holy cow, man, I've done a lot. And not knowing how much myself and us as a family have done, I have stories to tell. I have adventures that I see that I'm like, wow, we've done a lot actually. We're not just not doing anything or stagnant or just stuck. And I used to think, oh, we're just in one place. Like, why can't we get out of this funk or something like that? But no, like we've actually done quite a bit. And now that I look back, I'm like, holy cow, we made it through all of that. And I'm so grateful for it. And a lot of just personal wise, right? And so for transacting our files with the business, I definitely make sure that time blocking is a must. Definitely, especially when you have family. You
Hmm.
have to set that expectation too and know that hey, this is the time that I'm going to set and do this and then this is when I'm actually going to be with my family. This is when I'm actually going to be doing other things. I'm learning a lot lately too, especially this year with a bigger family, of course, having a baby, everything. Filling your calendar. Use that calendar. I used to always see all the major leaders showing their calendars on their posts, and I look at mine. I'm like, ah, mine looks empty. And so I don't know if you've heard this, but I think it's even Grant Cardone says this is when your calendar is empty, you're basically giving the devil a chance to come in and distract you. And learning, okay, now that I'm going to set this time aside for my business, knowing this is the time I'm going to put my phone away because this is the time I'm going to spend with my family and just be with them, be present, right? Because it can get going. It really can, especially in the realistic world. I'm constantly marketing and making sure that I'm able to be available for those who need help whenever I can because I know what it's like to be a newbie and just feel like, man, how can I get to where I want to be? And it's finding those resources, right? Finding something. Pace always talks about be resourceful,
Hmm.
right? My husband always says that, and I'm like, okay. One way I know how to be resourceful is through people connecting And that's definitely helped me get to where I need to be, and learning from them and how to manage my time, my efforts when it comes to even communicating with other people. It had its challenges, especially last year after I set some time aside saying, okay, guys, I'm going on maternity leave, and handing my files over to my teammates to finish them off while I went and had a baby, and coming back in and just saying, all right, what's going on? What's happened since I left? And actually getting that time to rest. And so coming back, I'm like, all right, I'm ready. And yeah, it's all about time blocking. It's all about making sure you put effort and do the work. Yeah. I can definitely tell you my team now knows when I don't and do market. So, because they are able to notice the difference when I'm not marketing and when I'm marketing now, they're getting like so many notifications from me right now. So they know. I'm like, yeah, it's all about the effort you put into it. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want to get to that certain place?
Mhm.
And I feel like that's what drives me is I want to be here. This is what I want, and just figuring it out. Okay, getting there. And once I'm there, I'm like, okay, then I move by step by step. Okay, there's something else now. So let's go for it.
I definitely love the time blocking techniques. It reminded me of something Jim Rohn said, and I believe it was plan the day, win the day, plan the week, win the week, plan the month, win the month, plan the year, win the year.
I love that. Yes,
And
absolutely.
you like really took advantage of seeing those calendars and being like, how can I put this to use? Because I still struggle with getting things on the calendar, even though I try to keep the daily scheduled as best as I can. Scheduling farther out has definitely been a challenge in
Yeah.
that regard.
You'd be so surprised that when you even start just from that week or two, I just looked and I think even 3 weeks from now, I'm like, oh, I have stuff coming up on them now. I'm like, I didn't have to like do a whole lot for that, but it definitely shows that what you're doing is working. And yeah, it's exciting.
No, it is. I would say the best hack I've run into so far is that wall calendar because now
Yeah.
everything is in front of me, and when I put a deadline on, I'm like, okay, I gotta hit this. Like it's on there, it's in my face, and it has really done me wonders to keep that motivation going.
Yeah, absolutely.
And congratulations on the baby, by the way.
Thank
Um,
you. Third
I
girl.
oh wow, how many
Yeah.
how many kids do you have?
So all in total, I have four. However, we
Mhm.
have three at home right now. We have 6-year-old girl, 2-year-old girl, and 4-month-old girl.
Yeah, you definitely have your hands full.
Oh yeah, yes. But thankfully, they are our 2-year-old. She's so sweet, and she is definitely a papa's girl all the way through and through. And anytime that I can get a mama in there, I'm glad.
You were mentioning the time when you started really noticing your growth. What was the catalyst for that? Was there a specific event that happened that triggered you and you were looking back and doing this reflection and you were like, wow, look how far I've come?
I gotta say, last year, I don't think I really had time to process all of last year, especially after having a baby and just being consistently on the go until last week. I sat down and had lunch with a friend who is also in the Sub 2 community,
Hmm.
and she's a TC too, and she's an owners club, and we actually got to sit down and get to know each other. And when I was telling her all that I've done, I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize how much I did last year, like how much as a family we did last year. And she was just so shocked. She's, wow, you're so young and you've done everything. And I'm like, I don't feel like I have. But then as I was talking to her, and I'm like, yeah, we've done this. Oh, yeah, we've RV'd full time for 2 years. And since we're looking into commercial assets, storage units, and then RV parks, and we've lived in an RV for 2 years.
Hmm.
So I know the ins and outs. When we did that, my older son, he used to help work for the park. And so we got to know the owner, the managers, and just how things work. In hindsight, or at least at the time, you may not realize it, but then actually sitting down and going through and speaking it, talking to someone and sharing with them all that we've done, it really opened my eyes and it made me really grateful because for a lot of it, I'm not gonna lie, I felt like I was either upset or angry or frustrated. And when I spoke to my friend, I came back home and I just stood in front of my husband. I was like, thank you. And I apologize for my attitude. I didn't realize how loving and fun our life has been, or sounds, especially when I get to share that with someone and encourage them to know, hey, it's possible to do so much. And I know that I can't do everything. I had to really learn the hard way. Like, I can't do everything as much as I want to, but you can do so much, though. And I just thanked him. I was like, thank you. As much as I know I was angry or upset because we were all over the place, we learned a lot. I learned a lot. And I get to take that with me and help others. Yeah, it was really until last week that I actually got to have girl time and go to lunch or breakfast. Actually share that. And so I want to be able to share that with just everybody, especially through the work that I do as a transaction coordinator.
You went out to that lunch and we were just talking about everything that was going on, and she pulled back the veil for you and was like, hey, look at what you did. This is serious. And that's
Yeah.
awesome to have just friends like that, accountability partners in general. So, what do you think so far has been one of your biggest struggles through all this?
Honestly, like when I'm asked that, I draw a blank. I think really is, I don't know. I feel like if you were to ask my husband, he'll lay it out because I don't know. Struggling, definitely part of my self growth, I think, just as a person, right? Learning how to heal and forgive is something that's huge because in order to grow as a person, you really have to let go of a lot of things in your life, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, that really sets you off on the trajectory to greatness, right? For me, I'd say if there's something that I don't like or I get hurt or something in a way, or I feel like I get hurt or something emotionally, it does take some time to heal. But I guess because even more so during my postpartum stage, just after having a baby, definitely a lot more emotional. And so that's why. Before that, I think it was more, I don't know. I think really weakness is just, okay. I really had to let go of my ego recently. Both my husband and I, we talked about it and we switched roles. For a long time, I was actually a stay-at-home mom and wife. And growing up, I was never really taught and molded into being one. So I never really knew what that was, right? I just went in, I was like, this is how you do it, right? And I was really bad at it. Not to say that I'm not a good mom and wife, it's just it didn't come natural to me. And yeah, I there was a lot of things that my son was like, "Hey, mom made steak." And it was like it was supposed to be French toast and it was just things like that. And I had to let go of my ego and know that hey, I'm really great at something. And even my husband was like, for family, it's a business. Him as the head and as a CEO, we weren't doing our jobs correctly, our roles to help this business thrive. And so we recently switched that. And so far, everything's going well. He is definitely stay-at-home dad, and I'm running my TC business full time. And it definitely helps because there's not that stress of, man, what do I make for dinner? He can just whip anything out of nothing. really. I didn't even know
Still.
those ingredients existed in the fridge or pantry. There's no way those were even there in the first place. But letting my ego go is one huge thing, because we all think that we're supposed to be a specific way when in times we're not supposed to. And we need to change that in order to be where we want to be. And that's when I say that's probably one of my weaknesses, actually admitting that. And so when I'm wrong, or mostly about myself
Hmm.
internally, anything like if I make a mistake or something, I'm completely open about it. I'm like, look, yeah, I messed up. How do I fix it? What do I need to do to get it? But when it comes to the whole ego of emotionally and mentally and working through some of those things internally, yeah, I'd say that's probably my weakness that I'm working on a daily. And I'm very grateful for my husband to help me through that too.
No, that's amazing. That vulnerability piece is definitely huge. I can see that you were very caring and very family oriented. That's definitely something that I have to work on. Here myself, I'm supposed to be cooking dinner tonight and we'll probably be ordering food because I just did not plan my schedule correctly. But that's obviously something I need to work on. And so, are there any habits that you have developed that kind of help you stay in this growth family oriented mindset?
Like I said, time blocking for sure.
Hmm.
I'm very like, especially when it keeps, when my word, right? I'm very, if I say and tell someone, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do everything that I can possibly to do that. And building the habit to do that, it's no matter what, I'm going to find a way to do it and get it done correctly and accurately. And it's being in the habit of just keeping constant communication and open and honest about what it is that I'm doing. And with me being full time now and homeschooling our 6-year-old, it means waking up at a certain time. Hey,
Hmm.
between this hour and this hour, we are doing schoolwork. If we don't get to finish, or if we hadn't started to a great start with it, we're going to save it, move it on to the next day. However, we know that's the time that we're going to do that. Consistency, right? Consistency. I've learned now, I'm like, oh man, okay. Regardless of not getting a full night's rest because I have a 4-month-old
Hmm.
and I'm still getting up throughout the middle of the night, I definitely know that I have people waiting on me. And for me, something internally, I feel like nope, I need to be there. I need to just be there for them. And because I feel in my mind, I'm there for them. I need to also be there for my family, because that's what helps me be there for my family,
Hmm.
is being there for others too, if that makes sense. I am waking up at this time no matter what. And then we're doing this no matter what. I think the kids do help a lot. It's like that accountability that someone's depending on me and I need to be able to take care of them and do that for them.
Hmm.
That's what helps me. And I'm trying to think of other habits. Oh man, just checking in with people, especially my team
Hmm.
for work. It's like part of that vulnerability. Hey, how can I grow? What do I need to do to get to this place? Because I see you're here and I want to be there. And what do I need to do? How do I get there? And showing up, definitely showing up. For a long time, I thought because business is great, I don't have to be attending as many Zooms as for like for the sub two. No, how else do I get to connect with more people? Because you can only go so far when you're online. It's on the Facebook groups and things like that. So I'm like, I got to show up. I got to have them know that I'm interacting live and being a part of it and knowing what's going on, because there's so many things that we can miss, right? Things change on a weekly basis. So just showing up. One of the Zooms today, actually, and I'm with baby and I'm in bed, but I'm still there and I'm listening, and it's okay. Just being part of it.
Hmm.
Showing up, having that vulnerability to where you're willing to learn and be critiqued, definitely, be coachable. And like I said, if there's something that I made a mistake or something, like, okay, how can I correct that? What do I need to do in order to make sure that I do it right next time?
One of the things I really like that you hit on, doing what you say you're going to do, and just because you're not getting that amount of sleep that you need, that there's still people relying on you, and that's something I heard another mentor of mine say was that if I go to bed at 12 a.m. when I plan to wake up at 4 a.m., I got to get all my stuff done regardless. I'm getting up at 4 a.m. because there are people who depend on me. And it's now that he's at that higher level, it's like there are mouths to feed. And just because you sleep in or just because you didn't get enough sleep doesn't mean you can shirk your responsibilities. So I think that is super valuable.
Yeah. And it's like getting past your ego and just being like, because I know a lot of people are afraid to put themselves in that position in the first place. No, I'm just going to worry about me. It's, yeah, in the end, that's not really going to get you anywhere. And I've had to learn that the hard way too. So being open and just putting myself in a position where I'm like, okay, what do you need? How can I help? It's what Pace says too. What do you have and what do you need? And so it's just putting yourself in that position to where you create that accountability for yourself, because that's essentially what it is.
Mhm.
And it's really intended for others, to help others, and that's what helps you.
What advice would you give for someone who's maybe they're getting out to the networking events? They might be sitting in the back, but they're still showing up. They're still talking to people they know. Maybe they're getting to those Zooms. Maybe they're sitting with their camera off. Maybe they're not raising their hand. Is there any advice you would give them to break out of that shell and interact more?
Ah, let go of what you think you know and what you think people know about you. Because in all reality, it's all lies. And you just need to just click that button and show your face. I remember doing this too, being super brand new and not wanting to show my face. I'd have my camera off. It didn't even have a picture of me. It had just the silhouette of,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, and so I was like, or even raise my hand or anything of that sort. And I really had to think hard. And my husband was like, "What are you doing? Show yourself, ask questions, comment." And I was like, "What?" And even just posting in the sub 2 group, I was so nervous too to even be like, "Hi, I'm Bee." Honestly, I think my first one was just like, "All right, guys, I'm here. Hi." And that's it. And I got so many requests. And I was like, "Oh my goodness." The more you do it, the more you get comfortable with it. And you don't even worry about it. It's okay. Now I got to worry about making sure my camera's off in case like I'm changing or something. It's like you get comfortable with it. You get comfortable with talking. And I noticed too, like when not doing that for a little bit, you get that nervous and anxiety back because you're like, oh man, it's been a while. And like you get back into it. The more you do it, the more you feel comfortable. Who cares? Nowadays, like I'm on Zoom. You even see Pace eating, like people have drinks in front of them. It's okay. We're all
We're human.
humans. Yes, we do stuff, right? And so eating, carrying a baby, like we're human. And so no one's gonna, and that's the thing that I really loved about our community here with Sub 2 is that it's not judgmental at all. Like it's so family oriented too that regardless if you have a dog or something in the background or you have kids, it's okay. And I used to think too that it was unprofessional, right? To have your children in the background while you're trying to work and things like that. Not in this realm. You have construction workers, you have general contractors, you have other TCs,
Mhm.
business owners who have their children with them. Because how else are they going to learn? How else can they carry that on to their families and their loved ones, right? How else are they going to learn? And it's, you can tell them, but if they don't see you do it, what's it worth? And so, really, it, just not believing the lies and thoughts that are going through your mind and thinking that people are going to judge you or who cares? Like, if this is what's going to really take to get you where you want to be, do it. Go in there and say hi. You'd be surprised. I forgot what challenge it was that Pace had going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about creating content, social media, a podcast.
Project Forward.
Yes. Okay. So when I first reached out and I was like, all right, guys, I'm ready to connect with people, because it was right when it was starting, when I first
Mm-hmm.
was new. And that really pushed me forward. I think the first time I posted something was like, all right, I need to connect with people and I need 3 interviews. I think 9 people booked in one day. And
Wow.
I was like, oh my God, what do I do? Do I need to tell them to stop already, that I have plenty of people to interview? Like, oh my goodness. And Sergio, my husband, he was like, no, it's fine. Just space them out. And then you can go back on your post and put edit and be like, hey, thank you, everyone. I'm so appreciative for those who reached out, and just refer them back to a different link to where they can set something up with you later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll do that. But I was so nervous. Like, oh my goodness, I'm like 9 people that I have to talk to. Like, wow. And being like a stay-at-home mom and not really having friends and just being at home with your kids, like jumping into that was really, oh my God, what am I doing? But I honestly, it was the best thing, because naturally you find out how much you really want that interaction. You really do need it as a human.
Mm-hmm.
And we thrive on connection. We thrive on being able to be close with other people. And who cares what anybody thinks or says? Show your face. Just hit, even if you think, okay, there's so many things now. ChatGPT can help you write a post, and all you need to do is just copy and paste and then click hit send. That's it. You
Don't
don't even
overthink
need to,
it.
yeah, don't overthink it, and you'd be surprised where it gets you. Oh man. Yeah. And I'm learning that now with my content too. So I'm slowly putting out my face, because that was one of the things. I don't like showing my face. No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it so they know who I am. And one thing that I learned recently too is that this is how you get people to trust you. Like, it's a huge thing when building your business. Like, you want people to trust you and know that what you're doing is that you're good at it. And that's why I'm like, okay, I got to post a video. Yeah. Don't believe the lies and the thoughts. Just hit that button.
I remember when Project Forward started, I think I was at, I want to say it was like Hershey World or something like that. But I remember I was like, I'm not missing this Zoom. And so I had my headphones in. We're walking through the store. Everybody's giving me weird looks, but I was like, I'm not missing it. But it was very interesting because he's okay, go do the podcasting thing. And obviously, I'm just getting started on this now. I did 2 back then, but one of the things I realized was that, like, it was very easy to just get on a call with someone and just have a normal conversation. I felt like I was making it way more difficult than it really needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I definitely think that's something that we can all learn from, is to just put yourself out there, no matter what other people are going to think. Just hit that send button and just let it happen. Because at the end of the day, you're going to push it and you're going to go, I'm alive.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
The roof didn't fall in. Everything's fine. You might have made a friend.
Yeah.
Um, and so,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome.
You may look back and be like, oh man, those really sucked, but it's okay, because that's how you grow. Yeah.
If you weren't doing transaction coordinator, could you picture yourself doing anything else?
Anything else? Had I known about storage units a lot sooner, absolutely. RV parks, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think not so much like a closer, because I can definitely just talk to people, be able to be that detective and just figure out, okay, what information do I need to get this going? And then from there, I'd probably just hand it off to my husband. I'm like, all right, because he's the closer, right? I'm like the hard sale.
Mm-hmm.
So a closer can just close me, I'm like, okay, make it worth it. Okay. But as far as like selling to me,
Right.
nah. And because initially when we joined Sub 2, it was going to be wholesaling,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was like, yeah, we could do this. There's so many people, like, all right, sure.
Yep.
And at the same time, I was just like, I don't know if I really want to be making phone calls. I don't know if I really want to do that. I do that now, but in a different sense, right? And I feel like, man, it would probably be just commercial, looking into storage and RV parks a lot sooner than starting now after a year and a half. And so I don't see myself doing anything else. Underwriting,
Mm-hmm.
no. So I know it's necessary, right? You got to know if you have a good deal or not. And especially when even being a connector too. You want to make sure you're giving a good deal to the person you're providing it to and connecting them with. So it's huge. Don't skip out on your underwriting, people. Like, it's necessary. And I definitely probably would have done commercial a lot sooner had I known about it. I think either way, I still would have been missing something. And TC just fits me perfectly, innately of what I do on a daily basis with just like our finances and how I am just with everything else. That's just what I do. I think honestly, something in me, even I told my husband too, I was like, man, I probably would have become an attorney had early on in life or something, or in a different life, I would have been like an attorney or something
Mm-hmm.
because of just how I just get things done, but in a manner that is done. So,
Efficiency, systems,
yes,
that sort of thing.
yes.
What was that switch that kind of flipped to make you go, okay, let's start looking into these RV parks and these commercial spaces? Was there a deal that came across your desk?
So now that I'm full time, I'm thinking, okay, I can TC and I can TC all these files. However, what can we do to create income coming in if I don't have files?
Mm-hmm.
Because in the end, it's like, it's the amount of work that I put in, right? So, how can I create something or have something create that cash flow without me having to consistently be on the phone and actually, hey, I want to take a day off and just be with my family?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do to have cash flow come in that day sooner and greater? I actually joined it was like a mini seminar video learning with Heather Blankenship. And so she had, her name is Bree or Brittany, I think, and come in and talk about storage units. And I'm like, I know one. I have one literally spotted out. I pass it all the time to my storage unit,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm like, okay. And she's mom and pops. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this one is probably a really great one. Like, it's small, mom and pop owned. I'm going to go check it out. And it just something in me was like, this could be it.
Mm-hmm.
And I woke up my husband in the middle of the night and I was like, we need to go to the storage unit tomorrow. And he was like, what? Like, and I'm like, yeah, we need to go to stop by this storage facility tomorrow. He's like, okay, okay. I was like, okay, all right, sorry. And we stopped by the next day and it's owned by an 83-year-old woman who has owned it for 20 years. And there's so much value add to it. I'm like, oh my goodness. They literally have to have someone come in and open the gate manually.
Mm-hmm.
They have a little office area and it's only one manager. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And it's in a perfect area. Like literally the phone number, it doesn't even have the area code on the card because of how older it is. Like
Mm-hmm.
back then our town was so much smaller that you just knew, hey, that's the area code for that number. You didn't have
Right.
to press it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now there's so many different area codes, you have to have it.
Mm-hmm.
Their business card doesn't even have the area code. And I'm like, man, there's so much you can do with this property. And going to them and just showing them and seeing, hey, how can we carry the torch for you? Because one thing is huge is that they're big about family, right? They're big about staying privately owned.
Mm-hmm.
What better than a family who's coming in and taking over it and taking care of it for you? That's my thing. It's like, how can I help you get to where you want to be? I can be here.
Right.
And so it just really sparked my interest. Like right away, I think I have that ability to just reflect back and think if someone gives me something, hey, this is what I'm looking for. I'm like, got it. I know what to do. You give me what it is that I need to look for.
Mm-hmm.
It's done. I already have this place in mind. And going in, I didn't know her age. I didn't know, okay, what systems they were doing. I didn't know that it already had been owned for 20 years. There's so many things. I'm like walking into it. I was like, oh my goodness, it keeps checking off the list. Like, it's really cool. And I was just really excited. In fact, I got AJ Osborne's book that I'm like now reading. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, let's get something going and get creative like that way. Because for me, single families, I don't, we did the Airbnb arbitrage. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to be in charge and going and fixing the internet in the middle of the night. Even though we outsourced everything, we outsourced the cleaning crew, we outsourced a whole lot, management wise, but I just didn't want to have to deal with that. And then you need a lot of single family homes in order for it to carry itself and other properties if anything were to happen, right? And one thing I learned about that is when the podcast with Marlon and Sam, and they spoke about that. And it's no one really talks about that point is that you still got to have your day job in order to make sure that before you actually invest fully with all these properties is that they're able to carry themselves
Mm-hmm.
where you can afford to have some of them vacant because the other ones are covering them as well. You have to have so many, right? And I'm like, by the time I get there, by the time we get there, it's, I don't, I maybe that's one of my weaknesses is that I don't like waiting. It's, I don't know, maybe that's what it is. I don't like waiting for something. Like, I know what I want. I'm just going to go out and get it. Like, how do I get it? And for me, it's like that wealth, right? That cash flow, that income that comes in and takes care of us without us having to worry or struggle or think what's going to happen or how do we come up or how do we, there is a way.
Mm-hmm.
We just got to execute it. We just got to show up and do our part and keep doing it no matter what. And I'm definitely learning how to talk to owners. My husband's definitely helping me out there. And so we're a team. So we're doing it. We're working it and I'm excited for that. I really am. The systems that I see that can be put in place for me, I'm like, okay, anything were to happen, I can do it. That I feel like that's what I can do the most. I'm pretty well versed in storage and RVs already as it is. I've owned them. I've like experienced having to do transactions with them and the maintenance, things like that. So it's okay. That's what I want to do. That's what I'd like to stick to. And yeah, I feel like there's less risk just because of humans.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be one thing if they were actually living in it, but they're not, hopefully. And RVs, everyone has their own thing and they sign waivers, things like that. So yeah, it's definitely less amount of people in a sense of having to manage, should I say.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Shout out to Sam and Marlon of the Think Big podcast because I'm there every Tuesday as well. Love those guys. But you know what you're saying about the rentals, they're operating as their own businesses essentially. And so you want them to be able to cover themselves and be able to not have to worry if you have all those vacancies. And that's something that I have been recently thinking about. At first, I was like, I want to own all these rentals. But now, as I'm focusing on one lane and I'm thinking about the future, I'm like, it's still going to be nice to have some rentals, but is that really going to get me to the main objective? I definitely think when it's time to invest in real estate, I might do a little bit of that, but start moving towards buying businesses.
Yeah.
And What you touched on a little bit was, I heard Cody Sanchez say, was speed to lead essentially, and money loves speed. And so the sooner you have that idea, the sooner you need to act on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it really sounds like you found that niche and you are moving and grooving and you're on your way. So that's freaking awesome.
Oh yeah. I'm like, okay, how can I talk to this manager? And I'm like, oh, do you know when the owner's coming by? And knowing, okay, when's your schedule? Okay, and playing that little detective there.
Mhm.
So it's okay. All right, I'm gonna be there at this time and stick to it. Do what you say you're gonna do and do it.
Absolutely. Are there any books you might recommend?
Oh man.
Top three.
Books. Huh?
Top three.
Top three. Okay, definitely the one that I'm reading right now for storage, right? So
Hmm.
this one. One thing that was definitely mind blowing and changing about how I think of money and assets is Think and Grow Rich.
Love.
So that one is a must. I literally dissected that one and just, okay, reprogram my brain. Okay, this is how it works. And you'll be surprised as to how many people really don't understand that or really don't even have a clue about it. So that's highly recommended book. Those two for sure. And third one, trying to think of all the books that I have. Oh man, all my books are in storage right now. So I'm trying to think. I only have a few out here. Man. I think the rest are another one I would just highly recommend is something for personal growth.
Hmm.
Something that I don't have a specific name for it, but anything that you may be going through personally, emotionally, something to help develop that and get through.
Hmm.
That can definitely be one because it's going to help just understand your position and other people around you, especially those closest to you, their position as well. And being more receptive to being understanding to where they're at, understanding their perspective as well. And that's a huge thing that I'm learning too. It's like learning what other people, where other people are coming from. So that way, that's how you can just exist with each other, right? It's like
Hmm.
knowing where other people are coming from and being understanding. And that way, that, I mean, life's easier when that you understand that part. So,
The
yeah.
empathy piece is key.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Where can people go to connect with you and find out more about what you're doing and get some transactions done with you?
Yeah. So I am on Instagram, the Bee Portillo. Bee is like honeybee. So BEE. And so at the Bee Portillo on Instagram. And yeah, even on Facebook, Bee Portillo. I'm sure we'll put a website just where to reach me too for Finish Line TC Services. That's the company I work for, and they can go and reach me out there. I have my little picture. You can book a call with me too, and yeah,
Love it. And we can put all that down in the show notes for people to check out. But this has been an awesome conversation, an eye-opening conversation. I definitely took some tidbits away, so I'm glad we got to do this.
good. I'm
If
glad. I'm like, oh,
if there was one thing that you would really want somebody to take away from this, what would that be?
keep going. Don't give up, because I know there's times where I want to, or I just don't feel like it. But man, it's in those moments where you don't feel like it that something actually does come out of it. So don't give up. Just keep going. Trust me, because that's how I got into TC. I was at a point where I was like, gosh, is this even worth it? I'm not even there. I'm not even making any money. I'm not even doing this. I'm not even doing that. And next thing I know, I won a freaking contest for a Clifton Strength. And here I am. So shout out to Jeff Hamilton and yeah, and my team leader Jennifer and Jay Holder for giving me the opportunity because seriously, yeah, it's been a blessing. Just don't give up. You'd be surprised with the people you meet and where you go. Don't give up. Keep going.
B, thanks again for coming on. This was great. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Zero to Growth. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment down below. Share it with a friend. That helps more people find the show.
like, subscribe, and if you want to interact with Bee and get some transactions done with her, be sure to check the show notes. The links will be in the description. See you next time.